Sean Clark. How's it going, Sean?
Hey, Paul. It's going well. It's really good to be here.
Word.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, thanks for coming on. As always, great to have you here. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, we talked about the some stuff last week. Was it last week?
It was only a short week ago.
Yeah. Damn.
That week flew by, man.
I was about to say, like, feels like I was just talking to you. Um, that was something I was gonna ask right before. Shit. That was something I was gonna ask right before I did the intro. Would you want to talk about that? Is that okay if we talk about that?
Oh, about the interview that talk about that?
Yeah, the
Yeah, I mean
questions and stuff.
that's totally fine. I mean, it might not be the most interesting thing, but now that you're kind of in the captain's seat now, and
Well, I'm asking
you're
about
you're the one asking the question. I'm the one asking the questions.
it. Yeah, exactly. Nice. So, yeah, so you hit me up the other day about, um, like you had these questions about like how people were experiencing quarantine and stuff, and like their feeling of like loneliness and what, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I I've been doing my capstone project for a design course on people's experiences and the emotional toll of the pandemic. Because I feel like just beyond social distancing, it's been sort of alienating and without contact, like regular contact with people that we love, we kind of have to come to terms with ourselves a little more. Um, and it was great talking to you. I think actually my whole week flew by because it was a series of interviews, and I was really grateful that people wanted to talk to me about such a raw subject.
Yeah, I feel
But
like honestly, when it comes to stuff like that, and you're just you're a good ear, so I feel like people were like,
thank
someone
you.
wants to fucking hear about my problems. We're like, oh, yeah, what's up, dude? Hey, I got some shit going on, you know? So,
Well, that was the surprising thing was like I wasn't sure if people were gonna want to open up about that and kind of invite me into that personal space. But it seems like after talking with you and several others that people were like, I was grateful for an opportunity to have a deeper conversation
yeah.
about 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 how dang lonely I feel. Holy smokes.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, because, like, if you start talking about that with, like, your roommate, or, like, I know a lot of people are with their parents and stuff, and this gotta be tough. And, like, you start talking about that with your roommate, they're just gonna be like, yeah, it sucks
Same.
sometimes, you know? Same,
It's
bro. I
like,
feel that, you know?
yeah, I get it. Like,
They're not gonna like open up and like say all this shit and like no, 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 how you feel? Like, no, what's going on with? I
mm.
mean, like, maybe like a good friend, but you get what I'm saying. Like the average person. Yeah.
Yeah, but the conversation flowed really naturally with you. Other people were like sort of more direct with their answers, but now that I've learned as much as I have, I'm ready to get out there in the world and cure loneliness forever.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
that's a cool update, you know. But that's not all of what you're known for. You are quite the musician, and I'd say you were quite the spearhead in like a lot of things in the scene in a sense. Like I felt like line leader was always a name I remember in like the quote unquote scene, or just
The
like seeing
scene.
on bills and
Rest
shit.
in peace.
Yeah. Rest in piss. Fucking bullshit.
Rest in PBR.
Yeah.
Rest in a big stack of PBR at the bottom of the steps of the nest.
Wow, that's actually that's so on point. Fuck. But yeah,
I'm gonna
so
save that one.
yeah, you should save that. That's a t-shirt. Fucking yeah, so you was Line Leader your first band?
What was line leader in my first band? Well, I'd be lying if I said that line leader was my first band, because I was in bands in high school, uh, and that we just did the high school battle of the bands thing. Do you know?
Oh, everyone does one of those, yeah.
It's funny. It's funny getting to the origin stories. Like welcome to the show. We're gonna dive right in.
Yeah.
Do you you're familiar with the boy, the legend Dash Williams?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dash and I were in a band together in high school called Ever Since Cameras.
Everston's cameras.
And it's so everyone's always like Emerson's Cameras. Like no, Ever Since Cameras. ESC.
Oh, okay. So
The
like
escape
ever
key.
since the invention of the camera.
Ever since cameras came around,
Okay.
yeah, it's oh god, it's weird that phrase tumbling out of my mouth after more than a
That
decade,
is such
probably
a
just being like,
overthought high school band name. I love it so much.
yeah, that was probably the first band that I was ever in was with Dash and a few other people in high school, so it was kind of funny to see Dash and I still playing around, and even in sharing bandmates like this far into the future. Yeah, we played Battle of the Bands. We came in eighth out of eighth place,
Word.
and not much has changed for me. Past life's off doing big things usually, but I think that sets a precedent.
Yeah. I mean, let's go like fucking who hasn't had a battle of the bands that they didn't win in their life,
That they
you know?
totally bombed. Yeah, if you didn't, then you've missed a rite of passage, and everyone must have always loved you.
Yeah, and you had a really great time all the time, and your band was over 1,000 likes out of high school because the whole high school liked your band. And then
Yeah.
none of those people came out to the shows you were booked at, but you had a dope Facebook liking ratio. That's what I find with like most of those bands that just like start in high school and keep going. They like forever try and bring high school with them, and I
Interesting.
feel like
Gosh, I didn't even think of
that's
that.
like I feel like that's like putting a stick in your spokes riding a bike. You're like, ah man, the scene's it sucks.
Oh, the image where the guy just
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, he just tumbles over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally see that. If you want to talk about contrived high school band names, that was when I was a junior in high school. I guess I've been playing music before that, but we were playing with a senior. So when he graduated, we had to like sort of form a new band when we were seniors, and that band with my boy Tyler was called the McFly Complex, as in Marty McFly from Back to the Future.
Like before you even said the name, I knew it was gonna be fucking hilarious.
I'm not, I'm not like, I'm not mad at younger me, but I'm not like proud either.
Oh my god, that's a good name though. Like I was in a ska band and I wanted to name us Tuna Salad like really really badly. Like
That's kind of fishy, my guy.
that's such a ska name though, right?
Oh yeah, it's way Scott
That's
out.
like the skiest band name you could have. And like they're all like, let's call ourselves Divine Paradox. We're like, okay, I guess I can't vote this one out. Like, there's just like some bands with like the names that just like never fit. No Seconds Flat was a name that I remember
Ooh.
from high school.
I'm thinking about it now though, and I think that ultimately, Dave Balthazar, I think, proposed. Dave Balthazar, you get some credit. I've just cracked something now. You know, we're looking at 11 years after the fact. The McFly complex. That's like around the same time that we were studying like Antigone. It's like similar to the Oedipus complex, right? Because Marty McFly goes back in time and his mom like falls in love with him when he plays that rock show.
Yeah.
That band name's on a deeper level. It's a corny joke, but it's also like a nice reference to mythology.
Damn. That's fucking smart. And also, like, goes right along with, like, overthinking a band name.
Oh yeah, it's got to be contrived.
Having, like, all these meanings, man. This was right around the time I was, you know, going through a bunch of stuff.
That's cool. You were in a ska band?
Yeah, that was like my first band in high school. One of my first bands in high school. That was
Did you wear a fedora?
God, no, no, no. But
I'm picturing you in one anyway.
nah, I don't
So
think I've ever wore a fedora ever, even as a joke. Maybe in a
get that
store.
image out of your head.
Maybe,
That's non-consensual fedora placement.
I remember the trumpet player definitely wore a fedora. 100%.
I mean, if you're holding a trumpet but you're not wearing a fedora, like, are you even playing?
Yeah, I just feel like a lot of the time. Yeah.
Some might say yes.
I feel like it's all set and setting. Like, if you're not in a jazz club playing a horn, it's like 9 times out of 10 you might be wearing a fedora. Nah, I don't know. I'm just kidding. Um, so I have another question. Let's go back
Yeah.
even deeper.
Oh gosh.
So, like, what was that? One of those first moments of like musical discovery or like interest, to where like you were like, oh man, this song is different than the others. Like I love this song so much. Like I don't even know
I
why.
love this question.
Or like why does this riff just like hits me? Like the whole part is great. Like what was like one of those first memories? Like I remember like some choruses were always like wow, like I can go back to even saying like my dad playing like the spinners for me when I was like really young and like didn't even know what music was, but I would just ask him to play that song over and over again. And yeah, like shit like that, like I'm really interested in. So what was like
That's
something like
that's
that?
cool. You would say that there's like almost like a incendium riff, like the one riff that set it all on fire for you?
Like the conscious, like, you know, you're like, you ever see those memes where it's like me being in kindergarten and consciousness starts or whatever?
Oh God, it must have at some point.
Yeah, it's like some shit like that, but it's like musical where you like are like you're listening. Music is always playing in your life if you think about it, but then you're like, yo, this song I heard the other day is crazy. So yeah, exactly.
If what I always remember about like my earliest childhood sort of memories involving music were driving around with my parents and they would play like a fairly involved song and the game would be to pick out as many instruments in the song as you can. Like, you know, can you name each of the horns? Like, can you hear like the bass and the drums, and then be like, okay, if there's a sound that's in there and it's strange, like, you know, try and identify that. Like, what is that? Is that like a shaker? Is it a tambourine? And we were playing those kind of games maybe with bands like Squeeze, or I was just talking to a coworker about Split Ends the other day, and they're these sort of like beautiful, like somewhat corny bands, but yeah, just like parent rock, like long car ride rock, like.
I don't know those
I wi-
bands. What would you like compare them to?
Just Squeeze is just like undeniable like pop makers. It's like groovy rock, but it's like, oh gosh, I don't, almost like an Elvis Costello type vibe, you know, where it's just like kind of just like boppy.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say check them out. They're like singles, 45s and under. Like their greatest hits are just all hits, of course, but
Yeah. I'll have to check them out then. Yeah.
I so wish that I could remember like the first song that really like sent me, you know. I for some reason, you know, without like filtering too much, I like the result that keeps coming back for me. I always remember listening to the Phenomenon soundtrack. That might be
Phenomena soundtrack?
That might be a misreference for you, but there was a John Travolta movie called Phenomenon.
Yo, where he like
Yeah.
gets and he's all smart and then he dies.
he gets zapped by aliens. They give him hyper intelligence.
I
like
fucking
mild-
love that movie.
Yeah, what's not
Yeah, mild
what's not to love?
telekinesis, right?
Mild telekinesis. Yeah, he's like pushing pencils around and stuff like that. People are interviewing him, and he's like, "You have no idea." Like,
He's just being John Travolta thinking about Scientology and shit.
he's, yeah, that movie. Yeah, it was described as like sort of like a otherworldly, like sort of sci-fi romantic drama, and I was like, you know what? Like, it did a good job of being dramatic, sort of science fiction, and like a fairly romantic movie. Like it throughout the whole
Yeah, it was
thing.
like romantic, but like not like romance. It was just like heartfelt, lovey-dovey type stuff. It
Yeah.
was just a good family movie type thing too. I don't know. I thought it was.
The only thing more heartfelt than the acting was the soundtrack, which just takes off. Like, do you have memories of that aspect of it? Because we had it on CD. We would just play it.
I can literally just like my mind just plays like your bullshit stock like sound of a
Yeah,
movie.
it is and it isn't. There's that uh Clapton song. Eric Clapton did that If I Could Change the World.
Mm.
If I could change the world, I would be the sunlight in your universe. Yeah.
I'm looking it up right now, seeing who else is on that because
There's a bunch. Oh, and Seal's Kiss from a Rose. And like,
oh
so
my god,
little kid me was just like, oh yeah. Does the Kiss from a Rose song always got me.
fuck, yeah, damn. That's a movie. I can't find it, but that's a
That's a
movie.
soundtrack. Yeah, that's one you get that on CD. And then yeah, I don't know if I'm thinking sort of like top two soundtracks maybe from my childhood. You got Phenomenon, of course, and then do you know what I'm gonna say?
I think you're gonna say either Forrest Gump or
Stellar, better soundtrack than the movie. That's not what I was thinking.
yeah,
but
that's what I'm saying.
I
Like,
get why you'd say that.
Kevin
Yeah,
was talking about it last time he was here.
of course he was. Kevin loves Forrest Gump. He's got more copies of Forrest Gump than even I do. Actually, more than anyone that I
Yeah,
know.
that's definitely a fact. Let me think. What else has a good ass soundtrack?
Well, I asked because it's been kind of coming back in popular memeing culture.
Up. I don't know. What is it?
Up. No, I wasn't a kid for Up, my guy. Like Tarzan.
Oh my
Tarzan.
god. Yes.
'Cause you'll be in my heart.
Yo, real
yeah.
shit. My dad loved
It's
Phil
like-
Collins, like anyway. And so he was just like, yeah, we're seeing that movie. Like, we're fucking buying
Yes.
that movie and we're watching that a bunch. That was
And
definitely.
people have been talking lately about like Phil Collins didn't have to go that hard for the Tarzan soundtrack. He did that for us. And that was
Exactly.
probably like what came to mind when you were talking about being a kid and like having something that just sends you. It's just like I remember being a little kid. It's like probably before I ever had interest in women or like hobbies or anything, you know. And I'm just like, I don't have a concern in the world, but I'm driving around listening to the Tarzan soundtrack and I'm like, why do I feel like crying? Like, why is this my heart beating so hard?
Yeah. Like I like oh man, I've had those moments with like random songs on the radio, like you know what had a couple I think some good songs in Jersey Girl with Ben Affleck.
Oh gosh.
That's got like landslide in it and shit. That was the
that'll do it.
That was the first time I heard landslide, and I remember like those like the lyrics. I'm like, is this a guy or a girl singing? Like, cause like her voice is so different. You know what I mean? Especially in that song. So I was so
I think
like,
I can remember having the same thoughts. Yeah.
and so I was just like, is it like a real different sounding guy or is it just a lady singing? And so that was my first thoughts. And then like the children get older line, I was just like, oh wait, that's a
I'm
that
getting
was just
older
like
too.
a gentle reality slap in my childhood head, and I was like, oh no, you're right. Time passes, and that was like, oh, my like first like I'm sad from a song now, and I didn't think it was the movie. It was like the movie I could give a shit about, like, but damn, that like landslide, and then every time it came on the radio, I was just like, oh, here we go, I'm gonna feel something, and like I power look out the window for the whole song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, we both sort of brought up these songs that inexplicably almost, but you can't explain it because they're such deep emotional songs, but you end up like feeling something from music, and you're like, okay, this isn't just like trout fishing in America, you know, like that was like, is it fair to call them like a kids band? I feel like they made like kids music. Trout fishing, they probably made some other music
like
too,
they
but
did, because you're saying they did the song "Kids in America." Is that what you're saying?
no, I was bringing up a band.
I thought you were saying like this band Troutfish did the song There's we're the kids in America. Whoa.
No, that's not them.
um
If it's a misreference, that's cool. It was like they were always on like I want to say like NPR and stuff like
I'm
that.
sure
And
someone listening knows them.
I think I went to a concert one time, but they would make like silly songs for kids about like cleaning up your room or like the dinosaur in your closet.
Like the Yo Gabba Gabba before Yo Gabba Gabba type songs.
Without the show, which like oh my that DJ is so great on Yo Gabba
DJ
Gabba. That
Lance,
show's
you can
DJ Lance.
fly. You're right. Wow. What a fucking show. I don't think I've laughed harder at a kid's show in my life. Like, yeah, there was maybe like the first time I stayed up like that late in high school, getting sleep deprived with a friend, and then we're like, let's watch Yo Gabba Gabba. It's like, yeah, I heard that show's stupid. And then we're like watching it, and they're all that dumb shit like DJ Lance, you can fly, or like a 5-minute song about brushing your teeth, and then it's like, and now kids, here's MGMT. We're just like,
Oh,
what the
yeah, and
fuck?
they're gonna sing about colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, are they sober enough to be on this kids show right now?
They were, you know, they got a shit ton of emails saying, please be on our kids show. We know exactly what you do.
I admired them for that. There's a bunch of like some of my favorite artists have done Yo Gabba Gabba performances.
I'm still
but
surprised that the people, like My Chemical Romance was on there. Like,
oh my god, I gotta see that one.
every snowflake's different, just like you. It was
Really?
Yeah, that's the song. I burned into my fucking brain.
That is a burner. That one will stick.
Oh man.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about though, is like that is the sort of like children's media that you're introduced to, that you're like, yeah, like this song's fun and I remember how to sing it. And you're like, okay, like that's maybe the role that music fits in my life for now. And then you get a little bit older, you get exposed to Landslide, and then you're like, why am I feeling these things?
Like what like my first experience with like harder music was like
Yeah.
Linkin Park's Meteoria, however you say it, Meteoria, whatever. I've never learned how to say that right, and I still won't learn. But
Meteora?
yeah, Meteora, goddamn. But I'm gonna forget in a minute, so don't worry. The album with Numb on it, that open.
It's never supposed to be said the same way twice, so you're good.
Yeah, that was a whole art piece. If you read the booklet, no one ever did.
No one reads
No one reads the booklet, but
I like the lyrics.
yeah, always fucking But yeah, like the second song on that is like really aggressive. It's like don't stay, and it's like forget our It's like all this shit, like very throw your life away lyrics. And I'm like in first grade blasting this, and I'm on like take your son to work day with my dad, and they were just like, it's gonna be 45 minutes in the car, so bring a CD or whatever. And like I'm just like listening on my headphones, like experiencing like negative feelings like being punched into me, it felt like. And I was just like, oh man, this is a whole world of like harshness. And I just kind of like like, I don't know. At that moment, like I wasn't even like enjoying it. I was like analyzing it like the whole day. I was just like, this is so
For sure.
different than do you believe in love after love? Like, cause
Yeah.
that was all I heard, like in my mom's shop, like hair salon as a kid. And so like that was just like a wow, weird moment. Like, do you remember any like like moments like that where like this is like too hard? Like
I was
those
thinking
inches
that
up to like metal and other hard things in your life, you know?
the first introduction to like harder music, I think for me would have been System of a Down. I want to say like
Yes.
that was like sort of because I guess there were other things that like I was able to when you hear it you're like, oh, I know what this
Like
is,
chop suey
like
or some shit.
I'm thinking about well I'm putting System of a Down in like a different category here. Whereas like sort of like when I first heard Eminem, maybe I was like, oh, this is like probably for a higher intended age group. If I'm like in fourth
Yes.
grade or something like that, and I'm listening to
Because there's like
Eminem,
swears and shit in it, you know?
yeah, there's that one song that's like that one Eminem. It's like the Eminem Show or something like that. It's really sing songy, like that, and like the Guess Who's Back, like the song when they were singing that. It's like because I would hear kids singing that first, like on the playground, and I wouldn't be like I wouldn't know until I borrowed somebody's CD for my Walkman, and but even when I heard Eminem for the first time, I felt like I know what this is. I know what like boppy rap kind of is. When I heard System of a Down for the first time, I was like, "Oh my god! Like, what am I? What have I come across? Like, what are these hypnotic and like heavy riffs and crazy harmonies and melodies and like." Why are they so upset? Like music that stresses you out actively, like as you listen to it. But that's either the point or it's just because you've accessed it at like a younger age group than maybe intended.
No, I totally feel that. I was a little different with System, like, cause I heard System really young. I fucking love Sode. Like, they're like probably my favorite like quote unquote
Sode.
rock bands. You know what I mean? Uh, they're just like so fucking tight. And like when I was a kid, I heard like Pogo and shit, like Bounce or whatever, and or like BYOB was a little silly, you know, like all the silly
It is.
songs. And
Everybody going to the
yeah,
party,
yeah.
have a real
La, 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 la,
good
la, 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 la,
time. La, 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 la.
like that shit's hilarious. And as a kid, I was like, this is so digestible because it's like it was like silly and then like tough because like there's even like Mesmerize and Hypnotize were like my first albums I heard from them, and that has like a lot of like the polka, like Danny and Lisa, or like the old school Hollywood. Old school Hollywood was such a like amazing song I heard like back in the day. Like fuck, they were like so. Wait, no, that wasn't the first intro. It must have been Toxicity, because I remember buying Hypnotize when it came out and shit, like in stores. So damn.
That's such a System album name too. Is Hypnotize.
Yeah.
That's your bit. But I get what you're saying. I do give them credit for being that accessible, and I think that is like partially why I credit them with like making me feel so much upon the first time I ever listened to them, being like, oh, like I've like opened a door now,
Yeah, because
I was thinking
because it feels like the port almost. They have so many different like styles you can kind of like dive into from it. It's like you can go just check out comedy music now because they have like, oh, open the refrigerator, doors closed, lights are out, butter gets hard. It's like, how is that a song that's like making millions of dollars? It's like because it's fucking awesome and hilarious. So it's like you can check out comedy metal, fucking rock music, and like everything in between rock and metal because like they changed it from there. And even like chill parts and stuff that were like kind of I don't know, just like Middle Eastern, I guess, sounding, like with all like the shakers and different percussion uses. It was really fucking different sounding stuff. And yeah,
I could listen to you do your soda impression all day. Like I'm loving it.
dude, I fucking love them, man. Like,
What's not to love?
yeah, they were so fun. And yeah, they definitely helped me like get more into metal and other heavy things like El Nino and Lamb of God and other stuff like that that like I still enjoy today. Most of the metal I used to listen to, like I can't really dig anymore. It's just like, yeah, we get it, man. It's just gonna be tough the whole ride. You know, I
Yeah.
gotta have some ebb and flows in there. Like I like it when there's like singing and then intensity, or at least
Yeah.
differences in intensity. I just can't do just fucking not nonsense, but just like heavy hitting the whole time anymore. It's a little much.
Big flow guy over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm about it. A thought came to mind. I haven't found someone that can sort of relate to what I'm talking about, but I thought maybe worth mentioning if we're talking about like the impact of music when we were younger. I credit No Doubt and like Gwen Stefani with I don't know if this is insensitive to say on the airwaves, but with my sexual awakening, if you will, you know, because we were talking about music that like really hit us, and then we kind of like felt different afterwards. It's like when I was listening to like No Doubt Rocksteady in like 6th or 7th grade, and like she does that like sort of like I think it's like in the song like Hey Baby, and she does that like breathe in the ear that
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, do you know that part of that song?
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was like, oh my god, like am I turned on now? like Gwen's breathing in my ear, and like young me doesn't know what to do with all of these feelings.
No, dude, I totally fucking feel that. And yeah, like I felt that way with like a couple random songs of just like I wouldn't say like yeah, like sexually in but like it was like it was in that direction. You know, like those doors of like I'm getting a boner or something wasn't there yet. It was just like a I feel romantic now or something, you know, like there was like a bunch of artists where I'm like where it sounds like a you know, a female singer at you know, and I'm like, oh, that's a chick singing right there. And I'm like imagining a pretty girl sing the song, and I'm like, wow, those lyrics mean different now that it's like a girl in that one part. And then like
Yeah.
I grow up and I'm like, that's just Tom without a filter in the same fucking song. And I'm just like, oh, whatever, still feeling emotional there, I guess. Like or just like that's not a chick, that's a guy singing in that band. I'm like, really? The whole band sounds like a nope. That's Bert. His name's Bert actually. It's like, oh really? Like fuck it, like they used, like, are you serious? Like there was a song that like really sounded like a chick when I was a kid, and I was like, this is awesome. And then I watched the music video, and I was like, oh, that's still cool, I guess. You know, I'm gonna just
Oh my
pack
gosh.
those feelings away.
I must have a few of those. Like that, like, when I was a kid, I was like, "Yeah, that's a woman singing." And you get older, and you find out. I was like, "Oh no!" Like, probably not even like Freddie Mercury. Like, I probably already knew, like, always knew about Freddie. But that's like sort of in the vein of what I'm talking about, where it's like you get older and you just understand more. You're like, I didn't even know if it was possible for a man to sing like that.
Yeah, like Passion Pit, Sleepyhead. Like,
Oh gosh.
I had that was like my first introduction to like super super, and I go up their vocals, and
He can't even go
yeah, he
up there
can't even do
vocals.
that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Like, look at any live video from Passion Pit after they put that album out. He is not hitting it that high. And you
I don't
said
need,
it was like fire around the brim. It's like that low. Oh, it's ridiculous.
That is how that song goes. That's yeah. I don't need to spend time trash talking Passion Pit because
Oh,
everyone already knows. Like they know
they had a moment in the sun, you know. Like I feel like it's so,
a
you
big
can
long moment in the sun.
yeah, exactly. Like you can shit talk anyone that has achieved my dream 5 times over again. Like what the fuck
Pa-
ever.
Passion Pit ran and then tripped and fell so that Alt J could walk.
Wow. Oh, that hit us hard, but it's actually so real. Like as the moment they kind of died, it was, do you know? Like immediately. Holy shit. That's great. Do you remember the band Rah Rah Riot?
Oh, yeah, do I? I feel like in my head I'm kind of confusing them with Rogue Wave, if that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but Rah Rah Riot.
They
Yeah.
had the like the string players and like the cello.
That's it. That's it. Because I saw them. Did I? I saw Rogue Wave once, but I think I saw Rah Rah Riot once with Andrew Bird. I went and saw Andrew Bird a good amount of
Oh,
times when I
nice.
was younger.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say they I think the last time I saw them they opened up for the Postal Service 10-year anniversary show or whatever. Like that was like such a lucky coincidence because I loved Rah Rah Riot, and every time Ben Gibbard plays with anyone, it's like some indie band no one's ever heard of, like 9 times out of 10.
Oh, Ben.
I mean, good guy. I mean, he's trying to get the local people around, I guess, but I can't fuck with that music anymore, man. They
Wait.
had a moment in the sun. They're done.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Death Cab. I can't do that anymore. That like they had a really amazing sound, and I always respected them for songwriting, but like I don't know, it's just not the same band, which is fine. Like they're doing stuff that's produced well. I'm sure it's written well as well. Look at me say well a million times, but it's
Are you speaking mostly about Death Cab right now, or
yeah, yeah.
yeah?
Because
When I
yeah, because I'm just
when I think about,
no,
sorry,
no, you do it. What?
when I think about them, I think about yeah, a lot of bands that I don't connect with their sound anymore. But when I think about their hits, like when I think about like Soul Meets Body or I Will Follow You Into the Dark, it's like I'm not trying to listen to that right now, but man, you really did something there. Like you provided an experience for so many people to relate to.
That's what I'm
You know,
saying.
it
Exactly.
doesn't even sound that dated. Like I wouldn't say that it didn't age well. It's just like sort of at the same rate we've sort of like moved past that, you know, or
I
like
think that's the exact sound of the late 2000s for indie music.
or
Soul
like
Meets
snow
Body.
patrols chasing cars.
Yeah, that's early 2000s. Like
Oh,
late 2000s is 100% Soul Meets Body. I feel like you're hitting it right on the money for like pop indie music band. Like that's a great song. Like, and you're right. Like that's what I'm fucking saying. Like their new albums are very throwaway. Like do you hear any song from the last 2 albums from Death Cab that are like, whoa, like remember that song? Like whoa, like I hear this song. Like no one gives a shit anymore because there's no like weight anymore. I
sure.
feel like it's very like look at us making new music. It's like who cares? Like
Have there been 2 albums since Narrow Stairs?
it was Narrow Stairs, Codes and Keys, Kintsugi, and now it's like something. It's like a mini sentence. It's like hello
Oh
tomorrow
gosh.
or wake something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, sure. Hello Tomorrow. Sure. Yeah.
But damn, dude, exactly. Like Plans is such an incredible album. Like you just said, like the 2 hits like were emotional and impacting. Like the other song, like the ending 3
There's that
tracks.
Crooked Teeth song, right? I think that's that band.
That's another one. That's the fourth before the last.
Can't even remember how that song goes. I'm just like, yeah, that was good. I've told you before. I know you're like a fan or were a fan of Benton Gibbard. I just don't. His voice kind of drives me up a wall now.
Why? Yeah, no, totally feel you on
Yeah.
that. It's an acquired taste. I
I've lost the acquisition.
exactly. It's yeah. You kind of have to like it at first and then go along with the ride, or you're just like, I'm not sure, but I'm gonna be here for the song, you know.
He wasn't doing himself any favors with that "I Will Possess Your Heart" song. You know,
You gotta
it's like
spend some time, love.
oh,
If you watch him sing, he like pulls his mouth down a lot, and I try to do that sometimes to see if it does
do
anything.
you find that that helps?
I have no clue if it helps, but I try it a lot. He does that
I tried to
every time live. It's weird.
when I'm recording takes. Sometimes I'll try and like smile, like give a good like a big smile when I'm singing, and I feel like that's like an older sort of technique, like almost like lounge singers and stuff. You know, like I used to pick that out where it's just like yeah, you're doing Paul's doing that face right now, that big smiley
My
point
kind
and
of
smile face.
town. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you're messing around, right? But you're smiling, and the smile's definitely bringing out some of that vibrato. It sounded really natural for you
No,
just now.
no, I'm not fucking with you. Like you're 100% right. Like that shit is real. Like when I worked at a restaurant, they said answer the phone with a smile. It sounds different. Like they know.
It does.
They know.
Yeah, it does.
And you have to be like, hi. It's rough. But yeah, dude, I was just recording some vocals earlier today and was trying like different mouth things, kind of like how I was telling you with like the droop, the Ben Gibbard droop. I was doing like extra enunciation movement with my
Yeah, that
lips.
fish hook movements. Yeah.
And I feel like that does a lot for like high end capturing. Like it gives you those like the equivalent of like a bass when you hit a bass guitar recording. You need that shitty sound just to give the low end a place, but like it just helps it. I don't know, like it's a cool for when you're doing like layering, because I have trouble enunciating like when I'm doing a good take. I'm always just like bleeding into the next word, and
Okay. Yeah.
having a layer where I'm like every single thing I could possibly push out, and then blend those together somehow typically does something cool. I'm always fucking around with different ways to do vocals and layer. I don't know.
Sure. Well, what you're talking about is literally the sound coming out of like different shapes. You know, it's bound to sound different, and yeah, you can put a lot of intention behind that.
Yeah. And this is like perfect segue into going into the writing stuff you were talking about last time
Oh
we
yeah.
were chatting, because that was like really interesting. And like you think you could like talk about that a little bit of like the book you're reading and like what you're doing in your life to improve your
Sure.
writing skills?
Yeah. Let's see. I might say first and foremost that it seems as though there's two types of people. There's two types of musicians you might encounter, and like two types of musicians that I've collaborated with. That it's like one type is where like the music will do most of the talking, and then the lyrics are sort of an afterthought to the way that they're listening to them. And the other type is that like the person that overanalyzes like every lyric and picks it apart, and like that brings them to like a deeper level of connection. And I'm not saying that like type one, I mean, you're going to hear some words some of the time, but I have always been like sort of very much on the other side, where it's like lyrics are one of the most important things to me when I'm coming to a song, you know, to the point where it's like I had a hard time with pop music for a long time. I felt like even though the music was moving and like it was catchy and easy to hold on to, it was like I can't connect if you're just singing about something totally
Irrelevant
like,
and
irrelevant or like
vague
baseline
and
like dumbed down. Like you don't have to dumb it down for me, you
yeah,
know.
like
Or like
who said it? John Mulaney said, "What's up with all these new pop songs saying tonight is the night and all we have is tonight?" Every pop song is that. Like,
Well, that is really all we have, but that's a yeah. I want to put a pin in that thought too, actually, because that was something I thought to talk to you about, just in the way that like musicians like work so far in advance. I'll circle around
oh
to
no,
that if
for
I
sure.
can,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I felt like for a while like I was settling for sort of lyrics that sounded nice, but also like keeping it vague enough or like almost esoteric enough that like somebody could project their own meaning onto it, right? And I guess after a while, I just wasn't satisfied with the level of like meaning and texture that I was getting out of my
I
lyrics.
definitely have tried to do that as well, but I think it was just myself subconsciously being lazy. Like they're gonna find their own meaning to it, you know. And there we go. You know, something vague anyone can connect to.
Yes, subconscious laziness. Yeah, that will come into play. And just like a certain level of like this is how I write. Like this is me. Like personally, you know. But I think I've it comes from me like finding that I've almost like taken specific names out, taken like specific things out. To me, when I'm listening to it, I guess it still screams like autobiographical. Like this could have only like come if I was writing about something that I went through. But I mean, you listen to like Buck songs and even the people eating fruit stuff, and you're like, this guy is just weaving narratives. He's just telling us stories. He's tying it to specific imagery. He can go off. He just
I can't tell
does
you
it.
how much I fucking like envious as fuck of that guy. Like, I remember like when we wrote a Triple Vision, it was just like, hey, I got this riff. You should write lyrics, and he's like just scribbling like a madman in the corner as I'm like making the beat, whatever the fuck, throwing all these things together, and then I'm like, I think I'm done. He's like, great, I'm done. I'm like, okay, let me. And it's an amazing song. Go listen to Triple Vision. Brandon Bauer's a fucking genius. It's not fair. He's using hacks. And I think he's done this shit before, so he knows how to write. Like he's
Yeah.
fresh reincarnated as a person.
That's what I thought you meant. Yeah, you can see you like. I mean, you guys are a really special group. It's a really unique trio. And I see this this shimmering potential in all of you, but like in my own personal experiences with Brandon, I mean, I brought him up because when we first became friends, we were like quick, like best friends. Like, oh, okay, like time to hang out every day. Like time for you to sing me that song over and over because I love it so much. And his lyricisms sent me on a hunt that I'll always be on. I think for the rest of my life is like I want to reach a place of like deeper narratives, richer textures, like woven stories, and I've implemented that in some of my writing so far, and I feel like I've been able to tie it down to more specific imagery. But I crave that like sort of like at like a higher level.
He doesn't even have
Or,
to
like-
try, man. Like he just does it.
Yeah.
And like anytime I like, and you just can't. You just can't fucking compare yourself to others, especially Brand. Like I feel like I'm the side character in an anime, and he's the protagonist, and the show's about
Sure.
writing, and I'm just like, yeah, you're gonna get him. Like, yeah, finish the song. Or sometimes I'll even have him come over and give me lyrics for Just the Architect song or some shit. Like, fucking A, man. Like, he helps me with everything. Like, I wish I could be like him, man. And goddamn, fuck.
I do too. That's actually the when Line Leader was still a thing. We had agreed that we would spend people's half birthdays, like the direct across the other side of the year. Like your half birthday is your roast day. So there was a short lived tradition of on your half birthday, your bandmates would all like roast you. They would give you your best
Oh, that's
roast.
great.
And at one point, it was Brandon's birthday, which is my half birthday, and Adam had like attempted to leave the party, but I ran and grabbed him at the door. I was like, wait, you still gotta roast me first. And he just turns and he's like, I've never met anyone that wanted to be Brandon more. And then he just left.
Oh, fuck. Oh, holy
Flames
shit.
sent me straight to hell.
Oh my god. He turned around with a machine gun and was just like,
And I mean, like, I think it's hilarious as a burn, even though it's like, to me, it's like somewhat, that's not exactly true. We should all admire Brandon Dearbuck and like want to emulate qualities that he exhibits. But I mean, it was mostly just like, I want to, soak in this guy's light. And like, I want to, he's like the type of person that helps you be a better you.
yeah.
And, yeah. And so now, you brought up this book. I've been reading through a songwriter's hand guide that just somebody on Instagram recommended. I decided to pick it up. The way I like to introduce it is that I was really hesitant because I'm not here for like self-help sort of stuff usually. And it's like, oh man, I don't need a book to tell me how to write songs. But on the other hand, songwriting's my favorite thing. And I love to read, and it's like this book is 100% about my favorite thing to do, so I might as well see what this guy has to say. And he tells you how to improve your writing practice. He's got me writing just about every day now, unless I'm like exhausted or like drunk. Like I will write like every day, and that I think has like kind of, I don't know if it's going to reflect in the songs yet, but just as like writing as a practice, leaps and bounds, man. Like I'm coming and contacting down with it so much easier. And this guy, Pat Pattinson, his book, for those of you listening who are interested, Pat Pattinson's book is called Writing Better Lyrics. It's the essential guide to powerful songwriting, second edition.
Available at a bookstore near you.
Yeah, available for you to support Jeff Bezos. But yeah, he talks about how to set up metaphors. He talks about how you can see like musicality in lyrics, like even without, how do I say this? Like without the music, like we write in like musical keys, and then he was talking about like you can write in the key of like a certain like section of like vocabulary, like lyrics. Like for example, the other day I was like writing in the key of mud, and then I was just trying to incorporate like a list of all these like earthbound sort of like terms, like like sand and swamp and like reeds and stuff like that. And so it's cool to sort of like gather the images around that before, and like collect those before you set into like put them in a certain order, or like weave a narrative like that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's such a good like piece of information that like a lot of people need to start doing. Like, because I need to start doing. Like, I'm thinking about like the final steps, I feel like, of a writing process first, instead of being like, all right, let's think this song is reminiscent of forests. Okay, what's in a forest? Fucking trees. All right, what's on a tree? A leaf. All right, let's start with a leaf. And then you go from there.
You knock some of the basic ones out of the way.
Yeah.
And then once you've got past like the trees, the leaves, the grass, like birds and some other animals, then you'll be like, all right, so like what's missing? And then those pieces start to fill in too, and then you've got like a more well-rounded, at
least like a start, and then like you can have these.
It's like
things,
a palette,
exactly, to keep going. And that's such like a great way to put it, saying in the key of like what you're talking about, because yes. I do feel like I'm just like writing to the music, and words are so secondary. It does not matter. But like once you like write in the key of like what you're actually fucking talking about, which means like you're like, instead of listening to like, oh, what notes goes with what I'm playing with, what words go with what I'm actually talking about? Like, oh, I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
So let's add more words about, oh, I said beach in the first line. Let's add like a million more words somewhere tastefully about a goddamn beach because we're
Yeah,
talking
in the
about
key of
in the
beach.
key of beach. Goddamn.
Yeah. Hey, get that froth, boy.
That's so brilliant and it's so simple of just like putting it into that box, you know?
I think that's what's made it like so easy for me to carry with me is that he breaks it down like real simple for you. And his exercise that like the first thing that he says is like I read like one of the first chapters of this book and he was like all right, what you're going to want to do is write every day for 6 weeks straight and then see how your writing changes. And so I basically was like, all right. And then I put down the book for like 6 weeks and I picked it up again after I had written every day. And he says just write for 10 minutes. You know, if you can just set aside 10 minutes every day, like, and just dive in, it's like you do that a few days in a row and then eventually you'll be diving deeper and deeper like every
What was the
day.
thing you said about the hard stop? That was a really cool part that you told me last week.
Yeah, which is that you set a timer, and if you wake the writer up inside you first thing in the morning, and you sit down and you write for 10 minutes, but you set a timer, and if you actually stop when the timer goes off, chances are you'll be like part of the way through a sentence, and you'll be frustrated. You'll be like, "Damn it, I had more to say. You dog, like you cut me off," and then the next day when you sit down and do that supposedly, or like for the rest of your day, like maybe you'll already be thinking in terms of writing, and then the next day when you sit down to do it, you'll be like, all right, here's my chance, like I'm gonna dive in, I'm gonna say even more this time, like you can't cut me off. I've got all these words.
That's like, oh man, fucking, I love that. And I've been trying to do that with just like everything in my life right now. Like you said, like wake the writer up inside you. I'm like, who the fuck else is in me? You know, and
Oh sure.
so
The sneakerhead, the Dragon Ball Z nerd.
yeah, anything else you see behind me.
I wasn't even. I was just
like,
riffing. I was kind of
DBZ
talking about like for
poster.
myself. No, dude, it's right
Fucking
there.
shoes
Yeah.
right there.
That yeah. I did the Dragon Ball because I know you like that, but I feel like right now I don't have anywhere for my shoes, so they're just all over my room. But it's like, yeah, like wake up the sneakerhead inside you. That's such a dumb thing to say.
I was about to
You can
say,
edit
do you
this
like
part out.
collect them? Are you like one of those people that buy the expensive limited edition ones and whatnot?
Oh God, like get them straight from DJ Khaled.
Yeah, I guess.
No,
Okay.
because I try to be frugal, but I'm close enough to having different shoes for different occasions, different writers for different occasions, and I'm working right now on like a series of songs. Could look like an album, but like in my head, like there's not so much like a album name as just like this general like medium that I've assigned to it. It's like around like my two favorite things right now are like the voice memos on your phone and just earth tones. It's like so in my head I'm like writing this album. It's like voice memos and earth tones, and it's like some of the song names, like as they stand like working titles, are just like Big Hill or like Tall Grass, you know, and like just starting with images like that. And like we were talking about, like trying to write in those keys, and like, yeah, definitely trying to keep things like natural.
So are you saying you have titles before you're writing them?
I typically love to start that way. I find it like if I can assign like an idea to a song and then write all the words around that, like I'll name every track on an album like well before they're done. Like I'll name every track on an album before I even have melodies. You know, I'll just be like, these are like the ingredients that I need.
Interesting. Like you'll have nothing and be like,
Yeah.
we're about to start Treasure Island. You ready? Like, do you have any riffs for
Treasure Island.
Treasure Island? You know?
Yeah, and I want to say something now that I think will be interesting if this comes out later, and I've still been working on it. Like the most recent example of that is I started writing a song on my way to work, and I didn't have any melody for it, but I was thinking of like a song called just like ISO, like In Search Of.
Mm.
Yeah, you know, and then it'd be like I'm looking for someone, you know, that looks at me like I look at you, kind of thing. Like I'm in search of that,
Yeah.
like type thing. And so, yeah, I've got like a few different like scraps of words like that. But that's, you know, it's not. It both is and isn't a real song yet, because in my head it's like, yeah, I'm gonna write a song called that. Like, I got the title, but does it have a like, I have no inclination of like melody yet, and that's kind of nice. It's almost freeing, because I was also talking to my friend Harry. He's like this amazing trombone player. And he was talking about taking some like samples of poetry and writing that his girlfriend's done, and working music to that. And if you can start with writing and like just let yourself write free, it can be so nice, like the sort of rhythmical and melodic ideas that you can bring to that table after you've got your steady foundation of words.
Interesting. That's like, well, definitely if you have like words, that's different than having nothing. And just like,
Right.
I want this to be like flowing rocks, you know, and for me that's super hard to. It's not super hard, but it's hard for me to put my heart into it if I'm not 10 out of 10 out of 10ing exactly the idea I'm trying to do. Then I feel like I'm just wasting my fucking time, because I'm not making Rolling Rock or whatever the fuck I titled this, and then or
Interesting.
like I retitle it to something else. Like when I title it, or like if I, unless I have like these words, but even then that feels like I'm trying to put it in to this thing that I'm building that's not for that. And I don't know, just for me, I feel so much more comfortable writing with like a direction, a color, but nothing outlined, nothing physical. Like until those first keys or first beat or riff, whatever is in there. Like again, if I had a line of lyrics and a melody, maybe, but like I'm very musical when it comes to writing. So, oh man, that's hard as fuck to stick with an idea, and like
I do
yeah,
think you work with ideas like that, though, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the releases that you put out like are centered around
a s
a sort of general theme or
for
concept.
sure, and it doesn't happen all at once though. A
Mm.
majority of it might, but it'll be like maybe one or two or songs in that are like the beginning of that, and then I'm like, yo, okay, I'm making whatever, you know, and I want to keep it in this area, and then I'll keep writing songs. But that's the thing, I'm not writing a song going like, here's the next one for that album. I'm just writing another song, and then I'm like, yo, that could fit in with that album. I'm like, this isn't it, and this could be an ambient tune if I just take those shitty drums out, and then I put it with that project. Or it's like, you know what, if I make it really aggressive drums, then it'll be this project. And then a year down the line, I write three more songs that fit that album where I wrote those two initial songs for. And it's like, okay, great, now we add those to the pile. Like, I work so unconventionally. It's hard to try and do it conventionally, like someone who
Yeah.
just sits down with the idea and finishes it from start to back. It's very much, I'm rolling the dice and we're going to see where it puts us today. Every time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, what good is convention though? Like, really, when your process is just like what works for you. Like,
Exactly.
sort of something that Brandon was talking to me about last time I saw him was like, he has to discipline himself sometimes to finish a song, or like a set of songs that he's started previously, so that he feels like he can move on to the next thing. Whereas like I am constantly starting new scraps, and like rarely like forcing myself to sit down and finish something. Like I'd love to, and sometimes it can come out in like these creative bursts. But when I like, if I can write, let's just call like progression and lyrics. Like if I can, like forget like layering leads or like bridges or something like that. Like if I can write like a full song in one day, maybe happened twice or three times in my life, and like I look at those days like holidays, like weird extra special days. It kind of related to something else I thought I might talk to you about was just the way that musicians have to live their lives with so much like planning in advance.
Yeah.
And I actually I thought about coming on to this podcast show and being like, I can't wait to talk to you about all the things that I would talk to my therapist about if I had one. but yeah, just that you can work on an album and record and mix it over the course of a year, and then through like getting ready to release it and all that promo entails, it could still not come out for another year. Adrian Lenker from Big Thief was talking in an interview about like the way that the music industry, like she's made it, like that band's made it, and she was talking, I'm so fortunate to do what I love for a living and that I can work on my music full time. But she was talking about like the rigorous nature of living your life a year and a half in advance. It's like you're so excited about the songs you're writing now. It's like they're not, no one's going to see they're not going to see like the light of day for potentially even like 3 years or something like that. And something that's like I would love to open up to people about, but like they don't know what to do with. Like thanks, I don't know what to do with this. Is like I frequently fear like, oh man, like what happens if I die before I finish like some of this stuff, because that was like, you were talking about generic pop songs being like, tonight is all we have, and it's like, yeah, okay, or like that, like live every day like it's your last, or like all we have is the present, like kind of thing. It's like
YOLO.
Frequently I feel that, and like that's like something I use to ground myself like in the current moment. It's like being like, well, all I really have is today, but it's like also all I really have is currently 18 unfinished songs. It's just like, if those aren't done like by tomorrow, like they could never be done, like, and it's like a weird, do you get what I'm saying?
I do
like,
think about that a lot, man. Yeah, I have a lot I want to do. And like the idea of like, oh, it's never going to get done if I get in that car crash that could have just happened as I'm driving down the highway or something. I think about that a lot, and that's a weird feeling. It kind of makes me go like, whatever. And that's like the first time I can really go like whatever to my music. And because I just have such a grip on it. I'm so, this is my everything type shit. So
yeah,
like being like, you could die, man. And then what? Who's going to finish that? I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to do all that bullshit now. And who cares?
Oh yeah, no, but that is what I ask myself. It's not a question though, because no one will finish it for you.
Exactly. Like I'm like, will anyone, like no one knows my password. No one knows how I organize shit.
Oh yeah,
I'm a mess, so it doesn't matter.
I just had to set up like Apple Pay on my phone, so no one's getting in there without my fingerprints. It's like, and that's where all the gems are. Voice memos are like my favorite thing.
I'm sure if you took it to an Apple store and be like, he died, I would need them voice memos for the #1 record. They'd be like, all right, we'll take it to the back, and they got special stuff. I don't know.
And they got my body in the back, and they just press my thumb to the phone. They
got a copy of your thumb, digital printed, 3D printed. They just push it on there. Damn.
Oh man, it's like it's so inconvenient for me to unlock my phone. Oh, this is silly. I'm getting distracted, but it's just like I've been thinking about it. It's like I've now assigned 4 different fingerprints, both my indexes and both my thumbs, to my phone so that I can unlock it like as easy as possible while I'm multitasking. It's like I'm just giving the government like my information, like
the whole hand. You really want them to make a copy of you.
I did they make a copy of me. I I guess it's all right that I don't commit crimes like on the regular.
Oh yeah, that's a good
or
thing you're
do
not
I?
a criminal. Yeah. Fuck, that's hilarious. Like, I have the new one, and it's all like your face. There's no fingerprint anymore.
Oh my god, it just scans your mug.
Yeah, like I can like pick up my phone and like I'm barely like as soon as I look at it, it's just like open, and I'm like,
Hello, Paul.
yeah, it's like all right. What if I didn't want this shit unlocked right now? And like sometimes it's like so good at like, you want me? You want the phone? You want the phone? Are you trying to unlock it? Like if I'm just like glance over, like, oh, my phone's over there, it'll like light up every time, and it's like, stop it right now. That's freaking me out. Oh my god. Oh wait. Oh, the funniest thing with like modern technology I've seen though is have you seen like people telling their Alexa that like if you like whisper or talk low to Alexa, it starts whispering back to you?
Oh.
Yeah, so you
Yeah, like for like low, I don't know, settings where you want to be discreet.
yeah, like your baby
movie
sleeping
theaters
or whatever.
Stop talking to Alexa in this movie theater. Like I don't care if she's whispering back.
It's like, Alexa, what do you think's gonna happen?
Who's
that
she just
guy?
loudly announces what's gonna happen. I already know.
In the 2021 movie. But like if you ask Alexa to fart, she'll like make fart noises. So
Oh, yeah.
So you can like go up to Alexa and be like, Alexa, fart. And she'll be like, okay, here's a wet one. And there'll be like a fucking fart noise, like, but like whispered back at you. Like, I think that's the funniest thing to exist today, that you could just go up to any, and like you'd be in someone's house and just walk up to them and be like, hey, Alexa, fart. And she will.
Let me get a sample. Oh my gosh, that's my brother used to do this thing when we first got like a Google Home, and he would always say like we would set it up, and we would be like, okay, Google, set a timer, this, that, or the other, and then my brother would come over and be like, okay, Google, self-destruct. And for like a few years, Google's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. He'd be like, that's bullshit. You know you can. But now recently they've programmed a response into that. Like it does like a countdown and then like
explosion sound or whatever.
Like yeah, plus like some really goofy noises. Like my memory, might be it's serving me wrong, but I feel like you hear like goofy like alarm clocks and like rubber chickens and stuff going off. Just like there it is. Like what did you expect? Like I'm clearly not gonna break.
I'm waiting for that day, though.
I would love it if they did, though. Like, just be like, you ruined your Google Home. Like, there's no user support for that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm waiting for the day for people for like developers to be like, hey, they asked for it. If they want to buy a new one, they can fucking buy a new one.
We delivered.
Yeah, we delivered exactly what they wanted, point blank. And yeah. Oh, okay. So I just heard a noise. I'm like, what was that? But I'm trying to think. Yeah, so my mind is lost now. Where else can we go? So let's talk about Curse Reverser really bit to wrap it up.
I was gonna say, like, at some point I'm gonna have to plug that, especially if this podcast doesn't come out for like a little bit yet. It might be closer to the time that we're starting to do drip some singles.
Oh yeah.
I'm
probably gonna put this out early May, and we're talking it's late April right now. So
early May. Okay. Well, then if you're listening to this in a timely fashion, then chances are there won't be any recorded music for you to listen to yet. But on Thursday, we just finished like the final mixes for the record. We did 2 rounds of mixing. Now it's gonna be sent off for mastering, nice. And I think it'll still be like collected into a record that we'll release. I think hopefully by the fall, cool. Maybe, but releasing singles hopefully throughout the summer. The band's called Curse Reverser. Took me a little while to think of that one, and
dope name.
I'm glad it's stuck. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny promoting music when it's like, and nobody really knows who you are, or like that you even have like a band. Like I don't know. It's cool if you ever heard of a Line Leader, but shoot, yeah. What was I gonna say? Just that. Oh, foo.
For fans
My
of
mind's
Line
gone blank.
Leader, you know,
That's a,
FFO.
yeah. Oh, I really just got one of those like total brain fart
Hmm.
moments. This is yeah.
Well, I mean, it's cool that you have like new music coming out. Can you describe what it sounds like? I mean, is it exact? Could you say it's the continuation of Line Leader
That is
style
what
sound,
I,
or
so I guess what I was gonna say is like, sure, you might not know that I even make music or like what that might sound like, but this is like a cool progression for me, in like that. I think these are like some of my proudest and like best songs I've ever worked on, and it is like Line Leader was like sort of like a garagey, like psyche, like just acid soaked sort of like really straightforward rock project, and there's a certain inextricable amount of like me-ness that you can't take out of the new tunes.
cool?
So it still sounds like it's written by me, but you can tell it's in a new fresh direction, I think. And it's a three piece. It's my boy Adam on the drums, and Katie is our bassist. She moved back from Seattle right when Line Leader broke up, so it was like really fortuitous timing. There was couldn't have possibly worked out better for us to start a band right before the pandemic and for all shows to stop entirely.
That's how it
but
fucking be, man.
but yeah, because we weren't practicing for shows, like we weren't always like, okay, let's just get ready for the show we have next week. Instead, our sessions were really driven into like writing in a way that like I've never had the opportunity to like pick apart songs with before.
I mean,
So
yeah, like that's a like a privilege that a lot of bands I feel like don't have. At least just like on top of like time management and just like people have lives, and then you have
yeah,
all these shows that you book because you have to book shows to be relevant, blah 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 blah. But like you're booking too many shows, and that show wasn't worth it. But this show is worth it, and oh, we got to play with this band. Oh, we got to help out this touring band, and so you have all this bullshit you got to take care of, and you're just trying to play the songs you already written that so they don't sound like garbage when you play them live. And
for sure. It gets really bogged down.
and then when you actually try to write, it's literally you being like, I have this riff and the whole song, you need a bass riff, I need a bass riff, you need to play drums for it, you need to do this, you know? And it's just this quick ass I don't even know. You know what I mean? Where like you kind of just like, all right, let's write some new songs. I have a song, let's do it. And then before you know it, people are like, well, I have this part. It's like we don't have time to collaborate on this whole fucking deal for months on end. Because do you ever want to play this song live? Because it's not going to happen if we're going to keep sitting
Yeah.
here talking about the riff or whatever, you know? And it's just, it's annoying, but it's also like, you know, it's just part of it. So it's kind of good
It
you
is.
had, it's like a, you know, a good relationship. You guys were friends first, and then you started getting serious with shows later, you know? I
Yeah.
feel like having that group writing feeling is such a bonding experience as well, and helps morale in so many ways of like, this is my band, you know, like I'm doing this, or not just like I'm playing bass for what's his name's project, and it's cool, you know. I gotta learn the one bass part before Monday. We play the whatever the heck, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, both of my bandmates really helped shape these songs out. You were asking if I could like describe the sound some. I would say like some of the writing is like a little more straightforward than I have before. Like I would say because we're a three piece, it's kind of like no frills, but at the same time, it's like there's hear like electronic beats kind of creeping in and out. I
Oh,
think like on a few
nice.
spots on the record, so it's like w- labels are awful, right? But it's like, I don't know, what is this, like alternative? Like I wish I could write like nighttime music. It's not all like nighttime music, but it's like it's kind of got that like fresh coat of paint on it,
Cool.
like that. It's like, I don't know. And then I hear other people like the guy, my boy Mark at the studio was showing me something that he worked on recently, and it's just like there's like sort of like a vocal sample into a mixer, like into like arpeggios, and it's just so lush that it's just like, oh man, like this is like the potential of what music can sound like in 2021. That stuff blows me away. I'm not quite on that tip, like, but it does sound new.
So you're using like fresh production stuff. You got fucking electronic beats coming in and out. It's coming
We
from a
recorded at the
garagey,
Headroom.
fucking hard rocking place of like in the past and elevating to this new cleaner, fresh paint, as you put it,
Yes.
vibe. That sounds cool as fuck, dude. And
Yeah.
I really want to hear that
Thanks.
shit when you get the masters. If you give me a leak, I'll give you my snobby opinion of what genre it is.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because then I can label it before I send it out to distro, and I hate the labeling process. Like I called my last album Psych Rock, but I was like, by the time I set out to like make that final line leader record, like really trippy in a sense, or like sort of like vibey or what have you, and by the time I was done with it, I was like, man, what even is psych rock? There's like something we think of in that sort of like 60s, 70s psych rock
That's
poster way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. In my opinion, psych rock is today. Psych rock is modern bands using modern techniques, or at least modern analog things, uh, to recreate the sound of what like progressive rock and psychedelic rock really like the full word psychedelic rock. And then like I feel like that's different than psych rock. Like psych rock is like the new stuff, which is virtually very similar. Some bands are very fucking classic sounding and amazing sounding, but they
Yeah.
do have that like I always say this to Francis because they fucking love psych rock. It's got like that like deserty kind of
Yeah,
vibe.
that's their steez.
It's like that sun and sand type sound.
Sure.
Like that wavy vibe. That was a bad example with my voice, but you get it.
No, I do. I was bothering Francis for a while, being like, "You really got to branch out and listen to something besides like temples and the alalas and stuff like that." And they're like, "No, it's just what my Spotify like puts me down as. Like, I listen to a lot of music not on Spotify."
It's crazy.
So
Like as soon as quarantine hit, like I got them into vaporwave, and they fucking
far out.
love vaporwave. We wrote an EP. It did great. It was so fun. Like being like, hey, because I'm always throwing genres their way, and they're like, I hate this, and I'm like, I know you would hate it, but I just wanted to
Oh
try.
yeah,
And
I can't see them hating much of anything.
oh
That's
yeah,
funny.
you play anything with a scream, they're not having it.
Oh,
But like there'll be like a
I can
cool
be like that
vocal
sometimes.
melody in there, and I'm like, yeah, I hear the vocal
Yeah.
melody, and they're like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, I understand, but it was like a win that like I finally had when they were like, I like vaporwave, and so that was cool to finally get a win out of that. Yeah, they're a great person. Yeah, they're great. They got a lot of good
Yeah.
taste. Bands like they're always playing Jefferson Airplane and shit like that. They like the classics.
Of course, Francis, if you're listening to this, I love you and I miss you.
They just came home, so they could probably hear me in the hall.
Oh, holy smokes,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, you can just relay that even quicker. But then it'll also be maybe a nice surprise down the line when it comes out.
Oh yeah.
What, just a couple more thoughts about just it's like quick ones about like psych rock was like I've just been thinking for a while like how done with that term I was at the time that I finished that last record, and I was like, man, what is it like when you listen to like Mozart or like Beethoven, it's like that's psychedelic. You know, you listen to like one guy with a steel drum, you're like, that's psych as hell. Like,
Yeah, that is a word that is very broad. It's like you could say that about anything.
or like experimental for that matter.
too.
There are few bands that come to mind when I think of like, oh, like experimental music, or they were experimenting. It's like
I think there can be like
the
albums,
creative. Yeah.
not bands. Or at least typically. In most of the cases, I find that's the case. There's like an experimental album that a band did, and you can call it experimental because their gist is not that, and then the album after that is still not that, and you know what I mean. So
I do.
that's
I think there's a lot of validity to what you're saying. I mean, I do think of groups like Animal Collective that like, but still, like, I guess sort of like over the course of their entire like library, I would be quicker to assign like ideas like non-traditional.
That's a better
like
word.
before experimental. It doesn't sound as cool as experimental, but the point really is that like, what artist is out there making music and creating and reinventing themselves without experimenting? Like, there's got to be experimentation throughout the process.
for sure. And that goes along with like what I said, like their whole experience of like finding themselves is experimentation, and then you find that like, okay, I'm gonna write a whole album that's like this, and then you do another one that's another one. Who knows? I'm kind of getting vague here because
It makes sense that we attribute those labels to people that are like sort of pioneering or trailblazing.
yeah, like you could
but-
say the Selected Ambient Works Volume 2 from Aphex Twin is
That's my favorite one, actually. I mean, I'm not super well versed, but like a lot of Aphex Twin, I'm like, holy Moses, man! Like, you just can't play the same beat for more than a few measures at a time. Like, you are always switching it up, and the ambience, like, okay, you can chill now. Like, you can grow accustomed to like what's going on
it's
here.
so crazy how it's literally like intense acid beats and breakbeat, IDM, drum and bass, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's all a
Yeah.
mixture, and like anything from. Plus, he has like all these other aliases as well. That's just like, it sounds like if like ridiculous board games had music. Like, that's what the music like.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just like insane shit the whole time. But like, I love it, Ambient Works Volume 2, because the first Ambient Works wasn't like quote unquote what we consider ambient today. It was like he used like the ambient synths in the mix of his electronic music. And so he like, that wasn't like a term being like ambient music where it's just pads and like light drums, if any,
I get you. Yeah.
And then when he came out with Volume 2, that was just mainly tones. Like, there's maybe one or two songs with a beat on it. And it's like a weird beat at that, too. Like, that was what we consider today, like, across the world, like, what we, like, the change of ambient music. And, like, what people thought ambient music is. Because it was a lot more cinematic. And the fact that, like, we could do droney shit that he was doing in Selective Ambient Works Volume 2, I would say everyone would call that experimental at the time. Right now, we call it ambient music. Like, back then, ambient wasn't like a genre. It was like a styling, a vibe, like cool, like saying these are cool songs, like these are ambient songs. Like, it was kind of just like
now there's like whole playlists like curated. I mean, there is. They created a genre.
It's a lot more concrete of a term now, and that just goes to show like just time changes everything. From like, you could say the first distorted guitars, this is experimental music. What the fuck are they doing to those instruments? Like,
they're stabbing their amps with forks. Yeah,
exactly. So
I think I was trying to reference a true story. I think that's like what the Kinks or something did. Gosh, I'm not. Kevin could tell you. Kevin's like the real music historian.
Stabbing their amps with forks.
They would stab their speakers with forks, and it would like sort of like tear the speaker head, and then it would be like, oh, that sounds fucked up. That sounds cool, like that. And I mean, I guess just like at some point, people were like, "Can we go louder? Like, can we drive this harder until it does distort?" kind of thing. Yeah.
It was just yeah. It's crazy how time and I guess like normalcy with things like makes it not get that word. Like experimental is almost like a sticker. It's almost like a new, like temporary, like of a title.
Oh,
Sometimes I'd say.
yeah, yeah. Because it's like, oh, like the new album. It's like it's only new for like maybe like the first like year or so that it's in the promotion circuit, and then it's just like your most recent album.
It's like
That
yeah,
that's a cool way of looking at that. Yeah, it was just like,
it's like, yeah, this experimental album, this guy, he took all these samples from these songs and it sounds totally, completely different, like a different song. It's so experimental.
yeah.
A year later, dude, have you heard this Plunderfunks record? What's it? Plunderphonics or something like that? Where
Oh yeah.
that's like what it is when you make a song from totally different stuff and it sounds completely different. You didn't play a damn thing. That's and it's a genre now. Like same thing with all this shit. It's whoa, man. Did you
Yeah.
hear that version of that new pop song, that YouTube video where it's like played in the mall? That's so cool. Ha ha ha. That's a
Played in
whole
the mall. It's
fucking
like the song
genre.
you hear from the bathroom.
Yeah, that's a whole genre. Mall soft. You can take it farther. Office soft.
Office
There's
soft.
so much shit out there. Like go to Bandcamp and just have a field day in the genre section because it's crazy on the shit
It's
people
talk-
are making out.
Talking about making songs without ever playing an instrument. It's like they're getting AI to like start making songs now.
Oh my god.
That like news story just hit, and that's so like nowadays. That's so like right now. It's just like, man, no one even wants to hear this shit. Like, please don't talk about it like it's actually a new Nirvana song. Like,
Yeah.
don't come at me with that. Like,
There's actually like some crazy shit out there. This guy, I can't read the name properly because it's got stuff above the letters, but it's like
Sure.
Benot Benot Care, Daddy's Car. He like put, I don't know if they did it or it's a group of people, but like that's the artist name that comes up. It's like this crazy combination of Beatles songs from like an era and mixed with like, you know, them producing it into a certain way and maybe adding other things on top. But it's literally sounds like a hidden Beatles track and the best Beatles track to ever exist. Like
so that one's like working for you. That's like in a good way.
that's like a scare because it's so good. It's so good. It sounds like a Beatles
Oh,
song.
no.
You have to check that out. Daddy's Car, Ben a Care, and it's that. And there's another one. I don't know. There's a couple of them by the same AI person or whatever, and that shit is insane. Definitely. It's crazy. Like the future might just be a bunch. Like that's going to be a whole section of artists. It's going to be like, whoa, like this is a person is going to be a thing in 50 years. If we're still
God.
around, that's going to be like like a dude made this. That's crazy.
You don't think people will still be listening to like Dylan in 50 years? They'll be familiar with like the concept of like one guy and a guitar.
I guess, but they're like, they're still doing that. Computers are just making the music now. Like, why are you a musician? You know, like,
Yeah.
why aren't you programming your own AI to make your own AI songs? Like, it's so much better than making your own music and so much easier. Why are you sitting there with a keyboard, you caveman? What is that, a
Caveman
guitar? That belongs in a museum. Like,
Speaking of one guy and a guitar, it's a pink moon tonight, is what I've been told. I don't know if it'll actually look pink, but you can bet I'll be listening to some Nick
I was about
Drake.
to say, yeah. That's nice,
Yeah.
dude. I'll definitely take a look out my window. I actually have to take the dog out in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up. This was a great episode, man. Fuck.
Paul, yeah, I hope so. I wanted to bring hopefully like a variety of topics. We got stuck in a few places, but I'm really thankful to be here on your show. And gosh, you're just such like a great person to talk to. I mean, like a good true friend to me, but also like I just feel like you and I could probably talk for like a few days.
Real shit,
given
man.
that we haven't seen each other in a bit, but like I could
We were talking about stuff that did not pertain to our lives and what's happened recently, other than you writing and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that was yeah, man. We could definitely have another episode of this.
Yeah, this is it's great. This is like kind of popping my cherry. It's like this is the first podcast I've ever been a guest on.
Aw.
And you know, if I listen to this episode when it comes out, that'll be the first episode of a podcast I ever listened to.
Sick. Fuck yeah. I'm that first guy.
I'm just kidding. I'm the biggest Duncan Trussell head in the game.
Nice.
Shout out Family Hour.
Family hour. Yeah, plug your shit real quick.
The Midnight Gospel guy. I'm plugging somebody else's shit first.
Yeah.
no, yeah. You can. Gosh, I don't know. We'll probably make like a Twitter, but I guess for now, Curse Reverser just has an Instagram that's Curse Reverser, which like I wanted to imply positivity. If you've got a curse in your life and you need that bad boy gone and pronto, I've got a remedy for you.
Nice. That's fucking great.
Thanks.
All right, man. So when are people going to expect some music? You were saying not yet, but what? We can
Summer
summertime?
2021.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Summer 2021.
I can't wait for people to hear this podcast in summer 2022 and be like, this fucking guy.
God damn it.
That Curse Reverser bull.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, dude. Well, thanks so much for coming on, and
Thank you for having me.
I'll catch you next time, bud.
Cool. Yeah, wait to see what you did with this. I mean, if we've already officially signed off, I'm interested to see how much you edit it.
Oh, there's no editing. For everyone
cool.
listening, there's no fucking editing. Other than
I don't
like,
got time for that.
other than like, oh, if like my dog came in the room and I'm like, or if I sneeze, I'm like, time for a commercial break as I like get my fucking head together. But I still don't even cut like or trim. It's just like me going like, all right, there might have been a break. So, and then we just keep fucking going. Like I literally don't cut anything unless someone begs me to take some shit out. And that has not happened.
Cool.
Yeah. So
Cool. Can you take the part out where I talked about Gwen Stefani?
no, I'm just gonna reverb your voice over that, so it sounds
like
more epic.
The deeper.
You're on a mountaintop talking about that now.
So my first boner. whoa.
I'll even like space it out so like the tail is more epic. It's like, and even Gwen Stefani.
Yo, you said you wouldn't edit this.
I only edited it to make you look worse. But yeah.
And that's it. That's a wrap. Good night.
Yeah, and that's where we're gonna end it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. That might have been the longest trail out ever. Later.